This motivation for the people, and this classic Bible teaching say, make this for my people that don't get to see me. Trying to remind you who you are, just like in Romans 3. See, we about to blow across the world just like a day that's breezy. This motivation for the people, and this classic Bible teaching, hey, 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 hey. Motivation.
It was a monumental game for A&M and Tampa. It was a monumental game. Somebody had to lose, and thank God it was them this time.
We knew it was going to be a battle. Look at Jake Ave's record. 202 and 36, I think, some off-the-wall figures.
And nobody would play him because they didn't want to take a chance of getting beat. But the truth of it is,
over 46,000 tickets. Blacks were sitting in the east stands. Whites were sitting in the west stands, and the score wound up 34-28.
The only thing we proved that we wasn't inferior, that we were not inferior, and we were not afraid.
For one night, for 160 minutes, we was better than them.
It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loot machine. It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
I have in me the ability to make you a better you. So if you work hard, focus, stay on point, you can do anything. Trust me.
We made this track to tell everybody they can follow their dreams.
It was a monumental game for A&M and Tampa. It was a monumental game. Somebody had to lose, and thank God it was them this time.
We knew it was going to be a battle. Look at Jake Ave's record. 202 and 36, I think, some off-the-wall figures.
and nobody would play him because they didn't want to take a chance of getting beat. But the truth of it is,
Over 46,000 tickets. Blacks were sitting in the east stands. Whites were sitting in the west stands, and the score wound up 34-28.
The only thing we proved that we wasn't inferior, that we were not inferior, and we were not afraid.
For one night, for 160 minutes, we was better than them.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
The Creole seasoning is a sodium-free and sugar-free blend that's versatile enough to put on anything. One of the first blends I developed more than 8 years ago, the Creole seasoning has an unmistakable aroma, a bold flavor, and a little heat for character. Every time I open one of these bottles, I hear trumpets and big band music.
For my people that don't get to see me, trying to remind you who you are, just like in Romans 3. See, we about to blow across the world just like a day that's breezy. This motivation for the people, and this classic Bible teaching say, make this for my people that don't get to see me, trying to remind you who you are, just like in Romans 3. See, we about to blow across the world just like a day that's breezy. This motivation for the people, and this classic Bible teaching, hey, 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 motivation.
Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to a joint project between the BCSN SportsWrap and Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU SportsLab. My name is Brian Fulford, and joining me right now, we have everyone that's a part of those shows. Myself, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, of course. We've got Mike Washington and Charles Bishop, and of course, my show partner, A.D. Drew. And we are coming to you with a live reaction and interview show. We will be talking to all the parties involved in today's historic decision in which the Florida A&M University Board of Trustees approved the Florida A&M University Athletics proposal to move from the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference to the Southwestern Athletic Conference by unanimous vote this afternoon. And so, of course, there's a lot of excitement, a lot of talk back and forth. It's a big day in HBCU athletics, HBCU football, all across the board. And so that's why we wanted to bring our two shows together. So, so first off, we've got all of the fellas in, and we've got a guest already lined up. So Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, we'll start with you, and just we'll go a quick reaction to everybody who's a part of the show, and then we'll get our first guest in. So I'll come to you, Doc, first, and get your quick thoughts and reaction on the news.
Yes, I'll be succinct in this part of it before we really get into it. To be plain and simple, I kind of took off my media hat and really put on my cheerleader hat. I think people may have saw that a little bit yesterday when I had the SWAC polo shirt on and had my FAMU Rattler cap on. So I'm just excited.
All right, Doc, I don't know if are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I was just saying, plainly, I was excited and everything about the move, and that's really my thoughts. I want to pass it around. But to get into it a little bit in regards to just how excited I am, you hear a little bit about this. I've written about this literally 20 years ago in regards to what would this look like if the SWAC had the ability to put a proposal together that would have people excited about coming to the SWAC. And obviously things have transpired in such a way. FAMU created the initiative in a lot of ways that allowed them to put the package together. And it was just the right time with everything coming together where the SWAC brand and the FAMU brand decided to literally link up. And I can't wait till the first couple of matchups take place, which really in a lot of ways starts potentially this year with Southern and FAMU. Obviously not a conference matchup, but full-fledged starts up next fall in 2021.
Yeah.
AD, let me come over to you. AD, Drew, let me come over to you and quickly get your thoughts.
Well, yesterday Dr. Cavil pulled out a FAMU hat that I did not know that he even possessed. So I could not, as an alum, I could not let him outdo me today. So I've got the hat and the shirt on, Doc, so I one-upped you. So the only thing I missed are the shorts and the underwear. So maybe next time I'll put everything on. But excited. I had a few people who saw the show yesterday contact me, and they're really excited. And some of these people who contacted me are not FAMU alum. They're alums of other HBCUs, some SWAC schools, some BAC schools, but they're excited for this. It's a great day on the hill. It's a great day on the highest of 7 hills in Leon County. So, fangs up, Rattlers.
All right, well said. Let me jump over to Mike Washington. Mike, let me get your thoughts.
I echo everything that's been said. Tremendous excitement, big splash. You see, I have my Prairie View gear on. I've been on Coach Simmons since he was coach at Prairie View. He gave me some camouflage gear, so I'm not gonna change anything. I'll wear some FAMU gear if he give me that camouflage FAMU gear, but no pressure. So obviously enough, you've been hearing the rhetoric on social media. I'm part of a large, even Southern corporate network, and their trash talking has already started. And this is just, fresh off the press. So on many levels, it's fun. It's fun. It's a jolt of energy. But I can't wait to see not only the first matchup, but the 2021 season. For sure. Lots of excitement.
All right, and then we go to Charles Bishop. Charles, we want to get your thoughts, especially find out what what everything is sounding like from the Jackson State folks.
Tremendous excitement. A lot of excitement in terms of getting that Florida A&M brand back in the conference. Really jolt of energy in the conference, if you will, since there hasn't been expansion since the late 90s. And to see those matchups with Florida A&M coming back into the SWAC. Obviously, Florida A&M and Southern last year was one of the highlight games of the season last year. But those matchups again with Jackson State again. You got Jackson State with the Hail Mary pass from a few seasons back. You had the game of Florida A&M in Florida A&M where Jackson State was able to get the victory. So Jackson State Athletic Department, they've already started sending out the memes and wanted to remind the Rattlers at least of the past couple of contests. So I think that has been a lot of fun to play with. But really just looking forward to Florida A&M coming in the conference. They get those matchups, of course, Grambling, Jackson State, Southern, but those all SIAC matchups as well with Alabama A&M and Alabama State. So it should be really, really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. There are some interesting rivalries. So just from the football perspective, but also some classic matchups. Some of the greatest bands in Black college, just bands in general. We'll hopefully have opportunity to compete against one another in that fifth quarter and so forth. We want to go to our first guest that we have, and I believe we have Colonel Greg Clark, who is the president of the Florida A&M University National Alumni Association. Colonel Clark, thank you for joining us, and it's a joyous day for many Rattlers, especially the alumni. I want to start and just kind of get your general thoughts on this day, and just from the alumni, what is it that you're hearing as it relates to this move from the MEAC to the SWAC?
Certainly glad to be with you guys today, and it is a good day in the Rattler Nation. This has been a process, and if you give me a second, I'm going to try to walk you through how we got here. So FAMU had been down for a while in our athletics program, quite a bit. Administration and within our athletic teams. So we made the decision enough was enough, and that we needed to get out of this hole in order to pull the rest of HBCU football and athletics with us. And so we made that decision. So the first thing we did was came out to Prairie View and decided to take their coach away from us. Really, we just had him on loan for just a little while, and Big Mama said, come home, and he had to come home. So, hey, it is what it is. He came on home. And so it started with Coach Simmons. That built the foundation. From there, we had to take a hard look at our athletic administration to make sure that we got a solid guy in there that could come in here and essentially take the next step and bring some outside of the box type ideas to what we do. And so we started looking, and we ended up with Kortne Gosha. We stepped out on a limb with a smart, energetic, up-and-coming athletic director, and we took a chance on him. And I'll tell you, within 6 months, we've completely transformed our athletics department, where they're going to be operating with a balanced budget, and everybody's going to be happy. And so, with that being said, when we hired him, we said, come in with big ideas, and he did. And one of those ideas we talked about was possibly looking at changing conferences. Although we did look at a couple of other ones, we wanted to stay within Black college football. And for me being a former student athlete in baseball and playing in the MEAC and being away from school a lot, understood the importance of trying to cut down on some of this travel, but really get into those matchups that people kind of really want to see. There's a reason that when Southern came to town, it was our largest gate outside of homecoming. Those don't happen by chance. And so now you're talking about every single year having these kind of matchups. You're talking about getting a fan base excited. That's kind of where we are. So in December 2019, we started the conversation with the SWAC, take a look at the possibilities, and we've kind of moved it all the way along. And one thing that's unique about FAMU is that our president, the board of trustees, the National Alumni Association, the foundation, we're all in lockstep. And so when you got that kind of cohesiveness, if you will, among your administration, and you pull it in the same direction, it's easy to get to what just happened today. And so that's where we are, and we are certainly looking forward to being into the SWAC. So that's kind of a history of how we got to where we are. And we're looking for bigger things to come. So just the fan base is actually, I'll say this here, fan base is actually excited about it. And of course our bands are happy, and I'm looking for some of those matchups now where, we used to have to go up and down the East Coast, but now we can put our bands on a bus and get to Montgomery, get to Huntsville and Jackson State, and start to put some of those matchups in place. And from an alumni social standpoint of view, I got a larger footprint of alumni to tap on, from Alabama all the way over to Texas. I got 4 alumni chapters in Texas. So it makes sense for us financially, and just for the history of Black college football. And the fact that, that the commissioner is a very smart man. He impressed me. It takes a lot to impress me. And I needed to hear the game plan. And when he walked us through it, I'm in. You got my full support. So that's where we are, gentlemen. That's where we are.
AD, you got a question? Go right ahead.
Colonel Clark, you kind of hit on where I was getting ready to go with my question. Obviously, part of the alumni base's mission is fundraising. You just mentioned those 4 chapters that you have in Texas. It's kind of where I wanted to go. What does this mean for the alumni as far as potential giving, potential donations, maybe some new untapped markets? What do you think this move in the SWAC is going to be for the Alumni Association and FAMU in general as far as their giving?
Well, I think it should go up quite a bit. For instance, last year we started a tour with Coach Simmons. We call it the Millennium Tour, right? And we rolled through Texas and came out of there, over a couple of nights with about $50,000 in monies to support a lot of things that Coach Simmons needs. Now you're talking about they know we're coming, and our past chairman of our foundation board actually lives in Houston, so he is turning flips right now. And so it's going to certainly drive up our alumni giving. Got a big chapter in Dallas, and hopefully one day we can play a game over in Dallas, but certainly Houston, Dallas, I got one in San Antonio and Austin. And so it's going to drive those dollars up. And then, of course, coming here to Alabama, where I am in Birmingham, we will be good to go. So the fundraising is going to go up quite a bit. And, we're already working on a project right now in the field house, which we help fund. So people are excited, and this is going to make them even more excited.
Yes, Brother Colonel Clark wanted to ask the follow-up question in line with that, but give us a little more detailed in terms of, you mentioned meeting Dr. Charles McClelland, the current commissioner of the SWAC, and the opportunity to engage him in the thought process of why this made sense. Without necessarily getting into details, I don't know what you're able to put on the table, but at least if you would frame that kind of discussion, what things in particular, with your experience with the National Alumni Association, what was important to your constituents and how you look at this model that obviously could be different, maybe lock in step with athletics or from a presidential standpoint, and then obviously lastly from a trustee standpoint, particularly where your game plan is and what your mission and driving for the National Alumni Association, which I'll be frank with out there, I've heard is one of the strongest across HBCUs, which could be beneficial if there's a collective of these National Alumni Associations get together. So I guess there's a two-part component in regards specifically with you and what you have plans for Florida A&M's National Alumni Association and how this may benefit HBCUs in general, but specifically with the National Alumni Associations across the SWAC.
Yeah. So, hey, great question. I am pro National Alumni Association. When the president of these universities, along with their chancellors and or president, the chairman of the board of trustees, when they have the alumni president at the table on these decision-making pieces, it makes things go much smoother. And that's what's happened here. I've been at the table with the decision on Kortne Gosha. I've been at the table with the decision on the president and of course now getting to the SWAC. One thing that we do, around football games in particular, we have a certain protocol. And the protocol is that the president of FAMU holds the National Alumni Association at great heights. And so that president is afforded a lot of access because of what we bring to the table as constituents. And so that's made our doing business together and working together much more smooth. When we come to town, I'll tell the SWAC presidents this now, alumni presidents, we come to town, the first call you need to make is to my alumni affairs director and say, what do you need? We take care of you when you get there. And conversely, I'll be looking for the same thing when I get on the road and come. We normally, we always gonna have a huge tailgate and probably some kind of party, and we fundraise in every city we go to on that Friday night. That's what we do. But we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna integrate. But it's important that alumni see this and they feel welcome. And we got a great president who's embraced the Alumni Association and depend on us for a lot of things. In meeting the SWAC Commissioner, again, he's here in Birmingham. We hadn't met in person. We're going to make that happen. But I was looking for the vision. I'm not, we didn't want to just move just to be moving. What's the game plan? And I know he's looking at FBS. That's important. That if we can do this as a collective, conference, it makes more sense than to try to go out there and do it on your own like we tried to do in the early 2000s. It takes a lot of money to do that stuff. But I think we can build each other up. And so, it's important. I like his 10-year plan. I like the fact that you could host the, SWAC championship possibly on campus. I like the fact that, you can come here to Birmingham and play the semifinals and the finals of basketball. It makes sense because it was tough for our fan base, even in basketball, to get up.
It looks like we lost him there.
Okay. Colonel Clark, we may have had a little technical issue there. I want to remind you, if you're watching us on Facebook or Twitter, you're watching a special presentation the BCSN SportsWrap and Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, and it's a general reaction show. The Florida A&M University Board of Trustees unanimously approved the FAMU Athletics proposal to move into the Southwestern Athletic Conference from the MEAC. We were just talking with Colonel Greg Clark, the president of FAMU National Alumni Association. We had a little technical difficulties. We lost him, but I'm sure he will be calling back. So what we'll do is we'll shift over from the alumni. We will go, and we actually now have with us, and we thank him for being patient, we actually have the head coach of the Florida A&M University Rattlers, the head coach, football coach, Coach Willie Simmons. Coach, we've got you there. Want to make sure Coach is there. Coach Simmons, are you there? Want to make sure you...
I'm here. I had to unmute myself. How you guys doing?
Yeah, all right.
Pretty good.
All right.
How you doing?
Thanks for your time. I know we'll get the questions started. I know, Mike, you got the first question. I'll give it to you.
Yes, Coach Simmons, again, congratulations. I guess with all the excitement, I want to get, your reaction. How do you feel? But more importantly, in addition to how you feel, is have you had a chance to text the players and gotten at least an initial read, or read the temperature, tea leaves for how they are feeling and your coaching staff is feeling about this decision, at least on the onset?
Well, obviously, the cat was let out of the bag a little while ago, and so I had that discussion with the players last week. They started to hear the rumblings and all of the rumors, and so we went ahead and addressed it. We told them that we were working towards it, but to keep it under wraps, obviously, until the final ruling came out, which did today. And so, these guys love football. They love to compete. They loved the atmosphere last year when Southern came to town. They loved the atmosphere 2 years ago when Jackson State came to town. They all know about the history of teams such as Grambling and some of those traditional rivalries that we've had in the past, because one of my biggest things when I got here was to help our guys remember our history. And, of course, some of those long-standing rivalries were part of our blueprint. So they're excited about the opportunity. Obviously, a lot of them are excited about the possibility of hosting a championship game here on campus. I think that's an exciting thing. They've all watched the SWAC championship game in the last couple of years, being hosted there at Alcorn State. So there's a general level of excitement here. A lot of my coaches obviously have been a part of the SWAC. During my tenure at Prairie View A&M or Alcorn State, or even a coach like James Spady, who spent 4 years as the head coach at Alabama A&M. So we're all coming back to our roots. I see Mike Bishop over there sweating because he thought he had got away from us. We coming back, baby. We back.
Welcome back, Coach.
Welcome back.
I do want to ask this question, Coach Simmons, in terms of from moving from the MEAC to the SWAC, does it change your recruiting strategy any? Now, obviously, you get to have tentacles back in the state of Texas if you're not already over here, or Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama as well. But does it kind of change the overall recruiting strategy for Florida A&M?
That's a great question. And if you look at our roster typically it more so fits a SWAC roster than MEAC. Obviously, being in the state of Florida, we don't have to go outside the state very often. But when we have 4 players from Louisiana, my starting middle linebackers from Texas. And so we'll be able to kind of get that blueprint back. I know KJ Black, my co-offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, has been wearing me out about getting back to Texas. My defensive coordinator, obviously, recruited the Houston area. He's chomping at the bits to get back out there. So it will allow us to get back into Texas and some of our own stomping grounds that we had during our 3 years at Prairie View A&M. Obviously, the relationships that we built with the junior colleges there in Mississippi during our time at Alcorn State. And so, again, our roster already kind of resembles more of a SWAC blueprint than MEAC, but it will definitely allow us to stretch those tentacles a little bit more, knowing that we'll start playing games now in Louisiana yearly, Mississippi yearly, and possibly even Texas yearly.
All right, Coach Simmons, how you doing today?
I'm doing well.
All right, great day on the hill. One of the things that came out during the various presentations was the travel. Was one of the big reasons. Obviously, you have more going to the SWAC East. You have more teams within a shorter bus ride of you. Just kind of talk about that, how important it is, not only for you as a football coach, but how that's going to affect some of the other sports, because obviously shorter bus rides means less time out of class for kids. So kind of hit on that for me, please.
Well, just thinking from an educational perspective, you hit it on the head. Obviously, for a lot of our non-revenue sports, that's less travel time. Obviously, when you're flying up the East Coast, which we have for years, it takes a lot of time away from campus. Whereas if we're going to Montgomery, which is less than 3 hours away from Tallahassee, that's a same day bus trip. For a lot of our student athletes, or even after the game, you can come right back, and you don't have to worry about necessarily getting back, say at wee hours of the morning, and expect our student athletes to get up and go to class the next day, which is baseball, softball, a lot of those sports that play during the middle of the week. That's what we face. We face those kids getting back at late hours and sometimes even into the morning and having to get up and go to class. So from that perspective, it definitely benefits us. And then just financially, when you look at it, we're looking at possibly one flight a year here, and the way the schedule swings, if we keep the divisional format that the SWAC currently has, there's a chance we may not even play a Texas team on a given year. So that means no flights. Whereas here in the MEAC, we were guaranteed at least one flight per year, sometimes two. We're flying twice this year, once to DC to play Howard, and then again to Dover, Delaware to play Delaware State. So obviously flights are a lot more expensive than chartered buses. And so just from a logistical standpoint and from a financial standpoint, the move made perfect sense. And that's what the studies did back in 2013. And then the most recent study, conducted by an outside source that VP Gosha did this year, it showed those numbers making dollars and making sense. And obviously it's a great thing for our program.
All right. So I believe we've also got Colonel Clark. Are you back with us as well?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, I lost you some kind of way, but yeah, I'm back.
That's all right. Let me jump forward just a second from Coach Simmons, coming back to you, because I also know Charles Bishop had a question for you as well. So I'll throw it over to Charles.
Sure thing. Colonel Clark, I want to ask this question. There's obviously a tremendous amount of excitement with Florida A&M coming to the SWAC, but for the portion of the fan base that still has a few reservations, or I'm getting texts now from people who are curious about, is it a rush decision? Talk about the timing of going to the SWAC now.
So, that came up. The timing, I think, is the best time. Because think about it like this. We're operating on a budget that was just approved that would get us through this football season, with the number of expenses that we'll have staying in the MEAC. Well, if we stayed there, you're still going to have those same expenses next year. Plus, when the report came out in 2014 when we did this, I'm turning my camera. We had this report done before. It came back with the same conclusion that we should move. I think the timing is right. The conference is making the invitation, and we're doing return on investment. We're looking at the long haul, which says that if we make this move, we leave the MEAC, we pay the out penalty, and in the years to come, we're gonna make a lot more money than we would normally make if we were to stay inside of the MEAC. So I know people are thinking about it, but trust you me, once Grambling rolls into Bragg and Jackson State and some of these other teams, trust me, this will all go away. So I think we did what was right for our student athletes first and foremost, and the time is right to get this done. In light of what we have no clue what's going to happen on the other side of COVID. But I'd rather go into next season knowing that I got less expenses to deal with than have those expenses put in place. So, these are teams that people want to see and fans people want to see. And, frankly, like I said, I love the MEAC. These good people inside of the MEAC conference. But, it's time to make a change, and this was the right time to do. And I hope that helps. But it was a lot of questions that came out around it. But I think this was the right time to do it, and let the new AD get in and get his feet wet and start to put in place, those financial mechanisms that's going to make sure that we remain in the black. And we want to be at a point where, we can give our teams a lot of the nice things that they deserve. They lay it on the line every day. They go out and represent this university. And we want to make sure that we take care of them and give them the best that we possibly can.
Sure thing. I appreciate that.
Yes, yes sir.
All right, Colonel Clark, you mentioned the 2013 report. Now you actually have the benefit of hindsight looking at that 2013 report, and FAMU did not make the move in 2013. How accurate was that report, and how did that accuracy or inaccuracy affect this decision in 2020?
The conclusion that both reports came out that said that, we would save, the numbers around 40% in travel. I mean, it was almost identical if you look at them. But, when we did this particular report, we also took a look at the Atlantic Sun, too, when the consultant did it for us. So Atlantic Sun versus MEAC versus SWAC. And at the conclusion of the day, it still said the same thing, that if you want to save some money in travel, this is the way to do it. If you want to give our fan base those exciting matchups, then it'll make sense. And then I think here's the bigger thing here. I think this move is going to help everybody in the conference because, when we travel, we probably gonna fill your stadium up. We're coming, so it's a financial benefit for everybody. That now you can start selling in your season ticket packages that make sense, and it helps our ads, out in the future what they're going to be getting. And I think the other thing is if we do this right, we ought to be able to get out of the business of playing these big FBS schools. If we do it right, I think we can get enough within just playing each other to sustain ourselves without having to go out and put our kids in that kind of harm, if you will. So, yeah, they were identical. Main thing was the travel, not to get on airplanes and go up and down that East Coast, and it makes sense for us overall.
All right, thank you, Colonel Clark. If you, Colonel Clark and Coach Simmons, if you two are able to stay with us, we want to take a short break and come back with some more. So hopefully, I know we've got some more questions, some more conversation that I know we'd all like to have, and I know a lot of people that are texting us, and I know they've got questions that they are sending to us. So hopefully, you two can hang with us for a little while longer, and we'll take a short break and come right back. You're watching a reaction show here on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab and the BCSN SportsWrap. We'll be back right after this short message.
It was a monumental game for A&M and Tampa. It was a monumental game. Somebody had to lose, and thank God it was them this time.
We knew it was going to be a battle. Look at Jake Avis' record. 202 and 36, I think. Some off-the-wall figures.
And nobody would play him because they didn't want to take a chance of getting beat. But the truth of it is,
over 46,000 tickets. Blacks were sitting in the east stands. Whites were sitting in the west stands. And the score wound up 34-28.
The only thing we proved that we wasn't inferior, that we were not inferior, and we were not afraid.
For one night, for 160 minutes, we was better than them.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation